Well, hello everyone. It's really great to be here, and a special thanks to Allison Hoffman, Karuna. She's over there. She's the one that invited me to come down from New Hampshire to give you all a message of inspiration and hope, because I'm one of the lucky ones that beat a very advanced case of Lyme disease, and I share it in my wonderful book, Out of the Woods, for those of you who have read it. So this is really impressive. It's monumental and certainly an honor for me to be here speaking to you, offering inspiration and hope that no matter how battered and broken you feel, you can reclaim your life from Lyme disease. You can heal, you can thrive, you can shine. If I did it, you can do it. It took me 10 years, but I overcame advanced Lyme disease. Healing is a journey. Sometimes a long one, an arduous one, but you can succeed. Chronic Lyme disease knocks us to the floor. It strips us of all we know and value and care about. Many of us have suffered decimating losses from Lyme disease, especially those of us who were not diagnosed, were misdiagnosed, or not treated fully enough in the early weeks of an acute infection. I know all of you here before me know about suffering. You know about fear, you know about despair, about loneliness, about betrayal and confusion. You know what it is like to hold on to your soul in the dark of the night when you feel you are dying and cannot endure another day of pain, a lack of medical help, or feel your money and marriage and friendships slipping away from you. It's horrifying to feel so helpless, to be so dependent, and also not to know what to do. I tell you, you're not alone. Look at all of us here today. We are here because we all share something in common: the story of mismanaged Lyme disease. We are here because we care. We care about our loved ones. We care about our neighbors. We care about ourselves. And we even care about complete strangers, because we want to stop this aggressive bacterial infection. We want to stop the rampant damage Lyme disease creates. And we want to stop the lack of education and ignorance out there. We want to wake up the world. We want Lyme disease prevention taught in community centers and schools. We want our medical world trained in diagnosis and proper acute and long-term care. We want insurance support. We want political action. We want an annual Lyme screenings tests nationwide. We want a vaccine. We want a healthier future. We want our families safe, and we want this epidemic to be arrested. I have been speaking extensively, sometimes 2 and 3 times per week, on behalf of Lyme disease awareness with my book, Out of the Woods, for the past 16 months, non-stop throughout the country. East Coast, West Coast, Florida, the South, New England, and even the Mid-Atlantic, in churches, town halls, libraries, bookstores, granges, healthcare centers, and even an opera house, I have met the Lyme weary, the caregivers, the concerned, and the tragic nature of this illness. In 2012 alone, I gave 39 two-hour talks on Lyme disease. The pulse point, I feel, is that of alarm. The American public is waking up to their vulnerability in the midst of a swiftly moving infectious disease epidemic, and they sadly see no real help is available to them. Every 30 years or so, Western society experiences a massive, life-threatening infectious illness. Thousands of lives are lost. Medical science is initially unequipped. Then they rally and find a treatment. or a vaccine, or a drug. If we look backwards in time, we can see the historical trends. In the 1980s, it was AIDS. Prior to that, it was polio. Before then, it was diphtheria. Then tuberculosis, smallpox, malaria. Well, guess what? We're in the midst of the next life-altering infectious illness epidemic, and it is called Lyme disease. And medical science is behind the curve. We need help, and we need it now. Not a month, week, or day can pass where we allow another innocent person to fall victim to this treacherous organism. What a whirlwind, what an experience I have lived in 16 months. How blessed am I to once again be well and able, after losing 10 years of my life, to misdiagnose Lyme disease. I lost it all. My career as a homeopath and healthcare columnist, my income, my marriage and home, my health and well-being. Compared to the bedridden status of 7 years ago, the wheelchair necessity I lived with, and too weak to sit up to even cut my food, to be recovered and renewed and traveling like a kid in my 30s is a gift I do not take for granted. I have a second chance at life, and I now walk my path with pride and intention. For I have survived a calamity, and I choose to live with purpose. My purpose is to end the suffering. I share my story, my holistic healthcare knowledge, and my empathy along the way. The crowds that come out to meet me are of all sizes. A handful in a health food store in Napa, California, and over 200 bursting out the doors in Massachusetts, North Carolina, and Rhode Island. Everywhere I go, all are in need, struggling, searching, and often confused. People are on walkers, in wheelchairs, ashen gray faces, trembling limbs, stuttering speech, broken spirits. Some folks are too weak to attend, and a loved one comes out for them to gain some guidance or glean some hope. Your wounds are palpable to me. The mishandling of the Lyme disease situation is atrocious. The government and medical sector have missed the boat on a modern-day holocaust. For 35 years, a critical, life-destroying illness has been neglected. It's egregious to witness the damage, the despair, the lost lives and money because we let a microscopic organism and its co-infections pirate their way into our backyards and houses. Sometimes, as I move amongst small towns and into big cities, I feel like Florence Nightingale, working tirelessly alone in the trenches of suffering. I bear a loving heart full of compassion and kindness, and my book of inspiration as I minister to the emotional and spiritual needs of the walking wounded and their families. It's not hard to do, to hold your hands, to offer the hugs, but sometimes it is daunting when I hear of a paralyzed child or I meet a woman who is kept alive on a feeding line, her insides raw and inflamed from the infection. So many of you are so fragile. I witness all that you have been stripped of. And still, I bring a message of hope, reaching deep into the core, to the marrow of your heart's true calling. For besides tending to your broken body, it is just as critical to tend to your breaking spirit. The emotional and spiritual suffering of this illness is just as critical as the physical. In my opinion, Lyme disease is the epidemic infectious illness of our era that asks us to marry the two hands of healthcare. It asks us to take the scientific diagnostics and pharmaceutical weaponry of traditional allopathic medicine and unite it with the restorative therapeutics of natural medicine. For we all know 2 hands working together are better than one. Killing off the bugs of Lyme disease is only part of the healing equation. Rebuilding the massive depletions of this infection is essential if you wish to be fully well. This is where the valuable work of a naturopath or a clinical nutritionist, an herbalist, or an integrative medicine doctor comes into play. Lyme disease is saying, wake up, America. We are behind the times here regarding integrative medicine. To recover from Lyme disease, we need centers where complementary medicine is integrated in one setting with allopathic medicine and alternative medicine, instead of piecing together practitioners from all over town and state like so many of us have had to do. And just as critical as this externally directed physical care, we must all learn to use our inner healing powers. Lyme disease guts us. It strips many of us of our career identities, our self-confidence, our well-being. Fear, insecurity, anger, shock, sadness can be overwhelming. But we are each blessed with a mind and willpower and a heart of true love and courage. When sick, we need to turn on these precious inner healing tools. People who thrive in spite of disaster, shipwreck survivors, war-torn victims, and even Lyme disease recoveries all share something in common. Even in the throes of the horror, they see themselves in a better future. They see themselves happy and whole and healthy. They don't live in the horror of their suffering, but they see beyond it to a better place. In order to overcome Lyme and be well, it is vital to use the power of our mind-body pathway. You must believe in your vibrant future. You must see yourself there. Belief is a powerful energy. It triggers the brain to create healthy, feel-good neurotransmitters, which in turn jumpstart the immune system. Belief is something you can each instill. You can set a healing intention of your own. You can set an image of yourself in your mind's eye that is strong and vital and glowing. I did this when I was wrecked, 5 years trapped at home, trembling on my living room sofa, in despair, and too weak to walk without help. My doctor said my nervous system was so fragile that in the older days he would have hospitalized me on tranquilizers for repair. Instead, he had me mimic the rest cure at home. It was an isolating and cavernous time for me. But in receiving a Lyme disease diagnosis after 5 years of prominent New England doctors and hospitals telling me nothing was wrong with me other than chronic fatigue syndrome and migraines, I actually felt hope. My Lyme diagnosis gave me hope because I believed. I believed I could overcome a bacterial infection. That belief gave me power. That power gave me a mission. That mission made me work hard on my commitment, and I learned how to use the mind-body healing pathway. And in those months, I visualized myself as strong and vital, radiant and healthy, spreading my arms high and wide like a grand copper beech tree. Well, here I am, 8 years later, standing before you, and I am that very image I willed myself to be. Thank you. It was hard work. No more Lyme disease, no more chronic fatigue syndrome, and I am impassioned to help change the future. To change the future of this Lyme disease atrocity, to wake up the world, and to help all of us use our collective intention to bring healing for all. Right now, here today, in addition, I utter a plea. May this illness be stopped. May the people in power start to listen. Your voices, your tireless efforts, and your willingness to leave your homes, and many of you on limited resources, find your way here to Freedom Plaza is an outpouring of passion, of intention, of commitment, and belief. I applaud every brave spirit here today. Your will is mighty, your heart is powerful, and together we are creating a groundswell. Our history, our collective story, our understanding of what Lyme disease looks and feels like moves us to take risk, to speak the truth, and to manifest a change. We will amend the suffering, the denial, and the crooked thinking. I believe in the power of the mind, the calling of our heart, and the mighty force of our will. When we can draw on these inner resources, well then we can move mountains. We can affect change. We can heal ourselves, others, and the planet. If we can all focus together, aligning our hearts and minds in a common energy, then that unified force gains power and momentum. I believe we can change the future of Lyme disease. I feel the awareness shifting, the call of hundreds of thousands of voices in dire need, pleading for help. I am honored to be a voice for others, to push the envelope and to shift the tides regarding this illness. And we all need to bind together. In my final moments with you, right now, I would like to set a healing intention. A healing intention for the Lyme community, as well as for each of you individually. Let us take a moment together. If you want, close your eyes as it helps you center, and put your hand over your heart. In your mind's eye, see yourself as powerful and strong and healthy. Imagine yourself in a place that's beautiful, that you love. Now that you see yourself with that image, drop your awareness down into your chest, into your heart space. Feel how steady and knowing the heart is. It is from our hearts that we heal. Now we have binded our mind and our heart together with our willpower to create an intention. And I speak these words of healing intention with hope. Hope for our healing, for the Lyme community's healing, and for an end to this epidemic. Here are my words of healing intention. I believe in a healthy future for myself, for my loved ones, and those who suffer with Lyme disease. I trust that the right people, resources, and energies will align to arrest this epidemic. With my own personal will and intention, I move forward into a happier, healthier, Lyme-free tomorrow. May each and every one of us be guided and protected today and always. Thank you for having me here today. You are wonderful, gifted people, and it is a privilege to be in your company. You're welcome, and you're all going to get better.